Okay, guys, by request, I am going to go through the first 25 problems in the multiple choice packet. Technically, I'm doing it again. I did it yesterday, and um, I just wasn't happy with the recording. There was a lot of me just kind of going, well, you put 3 over here and 7, and the answer is B. And I don't think it was very useful. So I'm going to try to do it again here and hopefully make this a better experience. So starting off with this number 1, as you can see, the first part of this piecewise defined function is linear. And then it goes parabolic for a little while, and then it looks to be some sort of root function. And wouldn't know that for sure, but looking at my possible answers, that's what's going on here. The slope is 1/2. It goes up 1/2 for the linear function. So that gives me choices A or B. It looks like the middle choice of x squared is the same for A or B. So I just have to determine whether or not this thing is a square root or a cube root of x. And so if I plug in something which is nicely square rootable like 4, I should end up with an integer, and you'll notice it goes through the point 4, 2. If it were the cube root, it would have to get all the way up to 8 before it was 2. So my answer to number 1 is A, and I'm just going to write these down so I can kind of check. I know you can't see it, but that is okay. These are multiple choice, so as opposed to necessarily doing the problems, sometimes it's just easier to eliminate answers. Number 2, we start with a linear 1 as well. It looks like it has a slope of -1/2 this time through for that first part, which is the same in part for 1, 2, and 3. All of those look the same, so I'm going to look on to that middle part, which sure looks like a cubic to me. It does to them as well. The difference is in part 2, it says a less than or equal to number 1, or less than or equal to -1. -1 is less than or equal to x, which is less than 1. If it were less than or equal to, I would have a closed dot there, so 2 is out. The difference between 1 and 3 seems to be kind of negligible. The fact that one of them puts that closed dot for the x cubed bit when x is 1, and the other one puts it for the 1/x. But seeing as they are the same number, it really makes no difference. Either 1 or 3 will work. So looks like the answer to number 2 is C. Continuing on, another one of these. And here they were kind of sneaky that they did the slope of 9/4 plus 8 or 9/4 plus 17/2. Those are really the major differences there. So I got to decide which of those are correct. And the other difference is, I'm looking for it, whether it goes 1/2 x squared or x squared. It does in fact go 1/2 x squared because for x squared, when I start at the vertex, I would move over 1 and up 1. For 1/2 x squared, you don't. So I like the ones which have x squared in it. So I'm looking at either B or D. Now, is it plus 8 or plus 17/2? I'm going to look for a nice integer value, and it seems like that linear part goes through the point -6, comma, negative, an integer. So if I were to plug in -6 in for x, and plug in 9/4 plus 17/2, I would end up with an integer there. So that's the one that I want, the 17/2 one, and that should pair up with the 1/2. So I think I'm looking at C. C for my answer. So 3, I think it is C. To sum that up, I saw which one it works if I plug in the point -6 comma some integer, and it looks like -5. And compared that also with the fact that the coefficient would not be 1 in front of the x squared. Okay, number 4, different kind of thing here. Looks like we are looking at a reflection over the y-axis. To accomplish that, I should have a negative right in front of the x, so I'm already looking at b or d. For g of x, if I were to plug in a 0, I would get a 0. That's what it means to go through the point 0, comma 0. So I know that g of 0 is 0. If I'm looking at part B and I plug in a 3 for x, -3 plus 3 is 0. G of 0 should be 0, and 0 plus 2 is 2. So if I plug in a +3, I should get a 2. That doesn't even show up as part of the domain of this thing. So for 4, my only possibility is D. Scrolling on down, solve the following system. I'm going to multiply my top equation by 8. I'm literally going to do that here. I will get 16x plus 32y equals 40. I'm going to leave my second equation as is, 16x plus 50y equals 55. And I'm going to really subtract the first one from the second one. So I end up with 18y equals 15. And y equals 15 over 18, better known as 5 over 6. I see A, 5. The answer is A. Seems okay with that. In number 6, if I try the same thing and I multiply the top equation, this time I'm going to do by 4, and I'll have opposite values. I'm going to have a negative 20x plus 24y minus 12. When I look at the 20x minus 24y equals 12, if I were to try to subtract these things, I'd end up with 0 equals 0, which happens no matter what x value is. It happens for an infinite number of x values. So I'm going to go with C. There are infinitely many solutions. Not that everything is a solution, but there are infinitely many of them. Likewise, for number 7, if I multiply the top equation by 5, you'll notice that I just get 9x plus 6y equals 20. The second equation says 9x plus 6y equals 3. They can't both work. There's no value that would make that true. If I were to subtract, I'd get that 0 equals 17. 0 never equals 17. There is no solution. So D for that one. 8. This one hung me up yesterday, truth be told, because I tried to subtract these two equations and somehow failed. Let me do it again. So y minus y is 0. X cubed, well, there's no other x cubed, so it's just going to stay an x cubed. Negative 2x squared minus a negative x squared is the same thing as plus x squared, would give me negative x squared. That's right where I made my mistake yesterday. A plus x minus 3x would give me a negative 2x, and a negative 1 minus a negative 1 goes away. I've got 0 equals, and I'm going to factor this guy, x times x squared minus x minus 2, and that factors again to x minus 2, and x plus 1. It looks like the values for x could be 0, 2, or negative 1. And it looks like C is going to be my correct answer this time. 8C. Find the solutions to the following system by graphing. If I were to graph this thing, I would realize that the first thing is a circle with a radius of 2 and a center at 0, comma, -2. So 0, comma, -2. So it's just going to touch the origin. Kind of one of those situations. The other equation, -x minus 4, that has a y-intercept of -4, and it has a slope of -1. Looks like it's going to do something kind of like that-ish. But let's see what we think there. So it looks to me like they are going to intersect, but not entirely sure. Let's look at their solutions and see whether or not they make any sense. So they're saying if I plug in a -4 in part A and in part D, that I should get a 0. I don't like that, because if I plug in a -4 into x squared, that is already way too big. That would give me a 16, and 16, it would have to be plus something negative, which I know doesn't work. By the way, I drew this completely wrong now that I'm looking at it. I said it right, and then I drew it wrong. Okay, I was wondering why I was getting a different answer than last time. All right, so that is a better drawing than that one there. I said the center is at 0, comma, -2. And all right, now we're getting somewhere. 0, comma, -4 is definitely one of the solutions just by graphing, and that -2 does seem to work out well as well. So for 9, I am saying that the answer is C, and I apologize for goofing that one off the get-go. Determine which of the one of the ordered pairs below is a solution to the system of inequalities. So I'm looking, the first of the inequalities is x is greater than 0. So I'm looking at all the x values, 2, 1, 4, and 3, and check, those are all greater than 0. They're saying y is greater than or equal to 0. And again, 2, 1, 0, and 1, they're all greater than or equal to 0. Then it says x plus y is strictly less than 4. So 2, 2 is out, and 4, 0 is out. Lastly, we have -x plus 2y is less than 2. So -1 plus 2 is less than 2, and that seems just fine there. The other one was already out. Okay, so my answer is going to be C. 10. My answer is... Hi, Buggy. You do what? Which of the following graphs represents the solution set of the system for number 11? They're saying y is greater than or equal to 2x. Notice that the exponential growth one doesn't go through 0, 0. So let me try that. 0 is greater than 2 to the 0th. 0 is greater than 1. No, it's not the part below the exponential growth. It's the part above it. So I'm looking at either A or C. The line doesn't go through 0, 0, so I'll try that again as well. -0 is less than -2 times 0 plus 6. 0 is less than 6. Yes, so it's the part below the line, but above the curve. I am looking at A as an answer there. I am recording. There's my wife. Maybe I'll pause it while we move the small child. We're back. Which of the following could be a graph of f of x equals b to the x, or b is between 0 and 1? Well, if the base is less than 1, as x gets bigger, this actually gets smaller. So I am looking at A, that number 12 is simply an exponential decay kind of problem there. That was easy enough. Which of the following could be a graph of f of x equals negative b to the x plus 2, where b is greater than 1. If it weren't for that negative, it would look like exponential growth. That negative flipped it upside down. That 2 moved it up 2. My answer for 13 is B. For 14, convert to a logarithmic equation. Let me write down the key to those again. That says b to the x equals y, says the exact same thing as the log base b of y equals x. This is the mantra for all things logarithmic. Hopefully that is legible there. So it's just a matter of taking one and writing it as the other. So the log base a of c equals b. So 14, my answer is B. Go backwards. So log base x of y equals k. That would mean that x to the k equals y. My answer to 15 is D. 16 says the log base x of 27 equals 3. That's saying x to the third equals 27. Well, I know that 3 to the third equals 27, so there you have it. 17 looks very similar. It says x to the second equals 16. I know that either plus or minus 4 to the second equals 16, but there's a little trick here, and that is that you're not allowed to take the log of a negative base number. So the only correct answer is going to be C. Number 18, they say to solve the log base 5 of x equals -1. That's saying 5 to the -1 equals x. And a number to a negative exponent is 1 over that number, so I'm getting 1/5, which I wrote 1/5. That was silly. The answer is D. In 19, say 9 to the 1/2 equals x, a fractional exponent. The numerator tells me the power to take it to, and the denominator is the index of the radicand, so it is a second root. The second root, the square root of 9 is, of course, 3. My answer is A. Number 20, log base c of AB is equivalent to, all right, this is one of our rules here, which says when the argument is multiplied, you can add the logs. So I moved it on myself. So this is the log base c of A plus the log base c of B, and that is 20B. All right, a few more of these. 21, log base c of A over B. Well, this is where we get to subtract. So this is the log base c of A minus the log base c of B. My answer is D. 22. Use the property of logs to expand. So this is going to be the log base 2 of square root of x. Well, that square root is to the 1/2 power. A power can become a coefficient. So I'm looking for 1/2 the log base 2 of x plus 4 times the log base 2 of y. And I can see already that my answer must be D. 23, more expanding. Everything is taken to the fourth root, so everything is 0.25. But that x is being cubed, so 3 times 0.25, 0.75. That x squared plus 3, we really can't separate. So I should be looking at 0.75, the natural log of x, minus, because we're dividing, 0.25, the natural log of x squared plus 3. And it looks like C is my answer here. 24, which is equivalent to this thing. All right, so I've got x, which in the argument of natural log will be multiplied by x plus 5, and all of that will be taken to the 4th power. So I should see an x and an x plus 5 to the fourth, like I do in B, and all divided by, yep, looks like B is my correct answer there. And finally, 25, which of the following is equivalent to this thing? So on the top, I should have, well, I should have natural log of, and on the top, I should have an x, and on the bottom, I should have an x plus 2 times x minus 2 to the fourth, but x plus 2 times x minus 2 is x squared minus 4. So I think I'm looking at D as the answer there. Let's check to see how we did here. 1A, 2C, 3C, 4D, 5A, 6C, 7D, 8C, 9. Ooh, 9. I got a C. Apparently the answer was B. Go back to that one. 10C, 11A. Scroll. 12A, 13B, 14B, 15D, 16B, 17C, 18, I wrote 1/5 and then crossed it out and wrote D, 19A, 20B, 21D, 22D, 23C, 24B, 25D. So it's just that number 9. Let's take another look at that guy real quick. Let's see. Oh, well, I just wrote down the wrong one. We had decided that the answer was in fact D. Was that what we were supposed to get? 9. Yeah. 9. My answer. They're saying B. So let's one more time. 9. B. Sorry. Yeah, that one works. That's would match our graph. Sorry. B. Okay. One little faux pas there, but the rest seemed pretty straightforward. Hopefully that helped, and I will see you guys soon.